2020 was a great year for PC gaming. New technology, shiny new graphics cards, and innovations that some of us can't even get our hands on. Great new well-optimized games, all that stuff has been so exciting. So today we're gonna just take a quick look at some of the best PC graphics. We're gonna stroll through some modern games that released this year and look at some PC gameplay and just talk about why we like them running on PC. So let's get started off with number 10 and talk about Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Now, while I still feel like stylistically and with some elements, Modern Warfare looks a little stronger, Black Ops Cold War does have room to do some really cool stuff, specifically with the time period and the setting. With it flip-flopping around for multiple generations, from the Cold War in the 80s to the war in Vietnam, it kind of gives the game an opportunity to flex its muscles and give you a little bit of everything. Some bright, daylight, lush jungle graphics, and lots of rain-soaked European streets, which is where I think game graphics really tend to shine. I mean, look at what they have going on here. Interior bar scenes, night scenes just look really great with good shadows. There's ambient occlusion, shadow ray tracing, and like, we can talk about graphics with Call of Duty, but I think the most important thing to also point out with Call of Duty is that while this does look pretty damn good, yeah, it's also because it screams. Whether it's on console or PC here, if you have this thing running 60 frames per second or higher, which the game is very much optimized to do regardless of your system, it can run smooth and look good, and that's important. Now over at number 9, we have Assassin's Creed Valhalla. This is definitely a game that's not without its bugs. I think that's kind of a theme this year. Maybe it's some of the developers having to work from home, but there's no denying that Assassin's Creed Valhalla still looks great, especially when it's running on a next-gen console or here on a shiny PC with a good graphics card. Ultra high frame rates and crazy draw distances are what are most important here, and that's something that you can get from PC gaming on a good machine, and it really shows and really makes a difference. Not to mention all the other stuff going on, all the lighting effects, the way the light streams through the trees, how the graphics just work really well with the art design to really emphasize this fall-looking European countryside, and Norway, of course, and actually a few other places too. Assassin's Creed is another endless open-world game with beautiful graphics streaming at your face constantly, without any compromises or really invisible walls or loading screens or anything like that. That's always worth highlighting, and again, especially when you have it running and looking as good as this. Now over at number 8, we have Doom Eternal, which is a game that, of course, looks great because Doom 2016 also looked great, but Doom Eternal really takes it up to the next level. And number 1, I think this is a PC gamer's game. I think this is a game that is best enjoyed on PC, of course, I always say, because of keyboard and mouse gameplay and how it just really flows well for that high-speed stuff, but also just because it looks good. And if you get this thing at like 120 frames per second, it's even more ridiculous. This game moves at a screaming pace, but with all the blood effects, the particle effects, the fact that the enemies now can decompose with the bullets you throw at them, the massive size of some of the maps and skyboxes they have going on, all the mechanics working at once, ammo popping, health popping, everything flying around, you whipping the mouse back and forth like crazy, and to have this thing still go like a champ. Something like Doom Eternal is definitely like the poster child for high performance modes, because whoo boy, goddamn, I don't really know what else to say about this other than that it's Doom Eternal. You've seen it looking great, you know it looks great, and it's another one that shows that it doesn't have to look hyper realistic to still have intensive graphics. Now over at number 7, we have Watch Dogs Legion. This is a game that we have learned both on PC and console is just very system intensive. On PC, it has a lot of ray tracing options, and generally the streets of London can look pretty damn incredible, and it almost seems to me like the game is designed to show that stuff off. The streets of London are very often covered with rain. Puddles everywhere, because of course this is the next generation, so we have to flex a little bit, right? But not only are there puddles everywhere, there are always drones with bright lights flying around. There are neon signs everywhere because it is the near future, and you get lots of very pretty reflections and good style here. And that's a type of style that really takes a lot of graphical power, and Watch Dogs Legion is willing to eat all that up. This game was a little bit divisive. You know, we weren't the biggest fans of it here, but I gotta say, it's worth checking out, even maybe if you get it on sale, and just go and explore that world. If you have a good graphics card, it'll make you really, really appreciate things. It can definitely be like a sight to behold. I was genuinely surprised. Now over at number 6, we want to highlight 2 VR games real quick. Star Wars Squadrons and Half-Life Alyx, because I know, like, stop me, a lot of you guys aren't super into VR. I know it still hasn't taken off and become completely really super popular, but between Star Wars Squadrons VR mode and Half-Life Alyx's full VR game, VR games had a great year in the visual department. Both of these games look incredible. Half-Life Alyx, of course, is riddled with tons of detail, realistic physics, great art design, art direction, particle effects, atmospheric effects, and just stuff to really help you get lost in that world. And then, on the flip side, Star Wars Squadrons, which is just an optional VR mode, still manages to look almost as good as the main game if you were playing it on a screen. Yes, of course, with VR, there always are some compromises and some cutbacks, but it doesn't feel like a compromised mode at all. You really feel like you're actually in that cockpit. The detail is there, and that's the most important thing, especially when you have it running well. It is very impressive. So we just wanted to give a quick shout out to VR this year. Good job. We haven't checked out the new Medal of Honor game yet, but Star Wars Squadrons and Half-Life Alyx definitely are new benchmarks for us personally. Now over at number 5, a quick mention to Amnesia Rebirth. Yes, a lot of people forgot about this one this year, but it did look pretty damn good. It did something a little bit different than the previous Amnesia games and set things in a bit more of like a desert area with less focus on spooky castles and dungeons and a little bit more on caves and weird effects with sunlight and weird alien effects. And of course, most importantly, some good and impressive shadow and lighting work, because a horror game like this lives and dies by its darkness, and Amnesia Rebirth just had really good dark effects. That's not like a professional term, we're not experts here, but when that dark looked good, it is really spooky, and they did a really good job with it, and it was just impressive overall. Now next at number 4, we got another blazing fast one worth highlighting. That is Ghostrifter, another game that has not been talked about enough this year. This game does have ray trace shadows and reflections, and it really shows. It is a cyberpunky style game, and it really uses that style to flex in the graphics department. No, it is not the most insane and crazy looking thing, but when you see it here and when you see it moving at a high frame rate on a good monitor and not here because YouTube videos ruin all good graphics, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Also, it is worth pointing out that this game is just worth checking out. It's a fun, good time. If you like first-person gameplay movement and just fast action, definitely worth a look before the year wraps up. Now over at number 3, we got to talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator, because oh my god, look at it. I do apologize because it's hard not to just say what everyone else has said, but this game is like the new benchmark. First of all, it is a beast. It is massive in size. It's pretty demanding if you want the full experience of the live weather effects, all of the real-time stuff going on. The night and day engine is incredibly impressive. The way the rain hits the windshield and the way the sound even works. I know this isn't a sound video, but then you have all of that with the fact that you were looking at massive draw distances, beautiful skyboxes, tons of detail on the ground floor using real-world data, with the game having a new aerodynamic system at the same time, managing how the wind is hitting your plane. So this is all working at the same time, and it is delivering just a beautiful experience. Almost a zen-like experience. I gotta say, as someone who barely knows what an airplane is and doesn't really know too much about flying them, I will say playing this game on more of the easier modes and just flying around and cruising around it's actually pretty relaxing. And that's because the game is just so gorgeous to look at. We're so excited for what this new platform of Flight Simulator will become in the next few years, because these games really grow with their communities. Because that, and this game with 4K resolution on a high-end monitor, it's really unbeatable. Now down to number 2, let's talk Death Stranding, because that released on PC this year. It did have some launch issues, it did have some things that needed to get tweaked, but the thing looks damn good. It looked really good on PS4, but a lot of the things the game did visually seemed like they were almost begging for a PC port, and now the PC version of the game really is the fully realized version of Death Stranding's graphics and visual design. It has a really great photo mode, it has ultra-wide monitor support, which is very important in 2020. It can have high frame rates, which is one of the most important things this game can have, and generally it is an absolute looker. It's actually more of like a grower than a shower, if that makes sense, because it's like the more time you spend in the world, the more time you realize that you're just stuck looking at all of these vast wastelands and landscapes and mountains. And when you're trudging through somewhere endlessly, that's when you can really take the time to notice, wow, these mountains do look great. Wow, the detail on Sam's jacket is insane. Wow, look at all those blades of grass. The PC version really amps that all up, and it's worth checking out. If you have a PC and you haven't checked out Death Stranding yet, I don't know what you're doing, because it's really cool. Is it weird? Yes. Is it a little divisive in the gameplay department? Yes. But it's different, it's unique, and it looks gorgeous. So that's what you're here for, right? Anyway, down to number 1, we have Cyberpunk 2077. Now, we're really only scratching the surface with this game. Of course, this is very, very new, and the game has a lot of bugs and visual glitches, but when things are really working, and this thing stresses out even the highest end graphics cards so far, it can look really damn impressive. The endlessly high skyscrapers with all sorts of neon advertisements, the rain-soaked streets, the day and night cycle, all of it looks absolutely incredible. And the world they built is impressive on its own, but the fact that it looks so damn good is definitely worth highlighting. It does have ray tracing support that's only on GeForce cards at launch, but the look of this game, the graphics of this game just begs for everything you got. HDR, high resolution monitor, high frame rate. It is absolutely a looker, and I'm gonna say that part of the reason I think people have been so excited for this game were the visuals alone, just because the setting is so unique, coupled with the graphical powerhouse it has behind it. But either way, it looks gorgeous, and so do a lot of games running on PC this year. That's the point here. These are some games that we thought looked really great on PC, but there are so many more, so we want to hear from you down in the comments. What PC games did you play this year that you got running incredibly well and you absolutely loved looking at? Let's talk about any of that stuff down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and love looking at pretty stuff with us, you can click the like button because that helps us out. We would appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing, hit that notification bell because we put out videos every single day. But hey, as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.